Welcome to our sixth and final video in our video series, Habits of Healthy Churches. We hope that whoever is watching, whether you're watching this as a pastor or church staff member, as a staff team, as a governing body, as lay leaders, we hope that this has been meaningful and will be effective for you. We really believe that if you implement these 7 habits, that your church culture will become much, much healthier. And as a result, you will be more effective. You will have greater longevity for the kingdom of God. So we've walked through all the habits but one, and we've given a framework for this whole idea of church health. And so we finished today with our 7th habit, our final habit. It is the least significant of the 7, but that doesn't mean that it's not important at all. In fact, it's quite important. That habit number 7 of healthy churches is healthy churches are not territorial. Healthy churches are not territorial. The truth is, in every church that I've ever visited or worked with or been a part of, there's been some area or some ministry where there's been territorialism. Maybe it was like in a liturgical church. Maybe it's the altar guild. Maybe it's the women's ministry or the men's ministry, or maybe it's the preschool over space. That there's at least one group, one ministry, one area in every church where there is territorialism. Some churches have even well more than that. But that ultimately, healthy churches are not territorial. That recognition that our job is stewardship. And stewardship's not about giving money and stuff. It's about taking the money and the stuff we have and using it for good. That I remind people all the time that it's not the pastor's church. It's not the board's church. It's not the congregation's church. It's God's church, and we're all in this together. And that ultimately, everything in a church, it's God's stuff. Regardless of who gave it, regardless of how many stinking memorial plaques you put up, that it's all God's stuff. That anyone has given or done is because God allowed them to have the resource and the ability to provide that thing. That it is all God's stuff, not ours. And that stewardship is a really big deal. Every church I've ever worked with, I said everything should be seen as shared space except for personal offices. That other than personal offices, everything should be seen as shared space. That doesn't mean you'll necessarily have to share it. If you're in a position where you don't have to share some spaces, it is easier. It is more helpful. Yet, I would argue that the best ministries and the best churches are the ones that use their buildings as much as possible for the good of the kingdom, for the good of their ministries, for the good of their communities. That everything is a shared space. You know, my first full-time ministry position, I remember, or not my first ministry council meeting, where I went to a board meeting. They were having an argument over the size of the memorial plaque that was supposed to go on the mini fridge that somebody had donated in the Sunday school room. And it got so heated that older men were standing up shouting at each other. At one point, a man picked up a chair and threw it at the other guy. Now, I've been in some church meetings where there's been some contentious stuff, but never where you needed to throw a chair, and certainly not over a memorial plaque. That again, we just get so worked up. We get super territorial. And a lot of it is built in wanting to care for things and wanting to do things well, right? And wanting to keep things nice and not wanting to waste our time cleaning stuff up, not having church things break. It's rooted a lot of times in good stuff. I remember one church I served back in the sacristy, which if you're not in a traditional setting, this was a traditional setting, and it's where they keep all the communion supplies. And they had a mini fridge in there for the juice and the wine for the communion. And one day I decided to put some water bottles in there in the corner, not even in the fridge, just in the corner where there was nothing being stored. And I even dared then to put a couple in the mini fridge. And the reaction I got, it was just for the speakers and the preachers and the worship team to have water. You would have thought I had taken the baby Jesus out of the manger and kicked him down the football field. Absolute, unbelievable reaction, right? That, over some water bottles that actually weren't in the way of what was already needed. That we get very territorial. That Christians, church people, are often worse at sharing than preschoolers are. And healthy churches are not territorial. Healthy churches are not territorial. Another church I served, they had these tables that they would use for worship, and they put all this masking tape over them. These churches are only for use by this group. Right? And again, we're trying to protect the stuff, right? We're trying to save ourselves some trouble, but it's not our stuff to begin with. It's all God's stuff, and it was given, purchased, donated for the sake of the kingdom. And so healthy churches are not territorial. Healthy churches don't waste their stuff. They don't waste their space. And this, again, it may be the last habit, but is certainly not the least. Final thought, culture is everything. The habits of healthy churches are about creating a healthy culture. That there's no particular program, there's no particular 7 steps or 6 steps or 3 steps or 30 steps that you can take that will guarantee that your church is healthy. But the truth is, culture is everything. And so health is all about culture. And creating a culture of health in your church, right? The truth is, leadership guru Peter Drucker said it this way: culture eats strategy for breakfast. That your culture as a church will matter more than anything else. And it's about having a healthy culture, to have the healthiest culture that we can possibly have. But the truth is, culture change, it is the best leadership thing that you'll ever get to do, but it's also the hardest leadership thing you'll get to do. That people don't like change, and they certainly don't like cultural change. That your culture has been built over decades or even centuries. But culture matters. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. It is the most meaningful kind of change. It is the most impactful kind of change. And in the church, outside of the work of God through the gospel, health trumps everything. And so creating a culture of health is so, so critical. That you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be big, you don't have to have the best pastor or the nicest tools or the greatest resources or location, but you can have a culture of health. That your culture of health will make more of a difference than any of those things ever could. And that any church can be healthy. And every church and every organization can always be healthier. That health is available to all of us. And so that's just kind of a final thought. If you have questions about this, obviously you're watching these videos and hopefully you're having some discussion. But if you have questions for us, you can reach out to us. Our website is amazed15.org, and there are ways to contact us and ask questions. If you think this is helpful for your church or your group or your staff or your ministry leadership, we come and do trainings. We even do staff and health retreats where we go over this and leader health and health retreats for governing boards, whether that's elder or council or session or whatever you call it, that we not only teach these, but about leader health and do some other work around kind of team building and self-knowledge. And so there are lots of resources that we provide on our website, through our platform, if you're one of our subscribers, through these videos and things like this. And again, really for us, our mission is to revitalize and build the global church. And we do that 3 ways. First, through church and leader health, which this is a part of. Second, through church revitalization, helping churches be transformed, helping churches find life and look like the Acts church in their context. And third, through our international ministry, going to areas where there's deep poverty and there's not access to education or training. And really, ultimately for us, our big mantra, like our kind of big saying, our catchphrase, if you will, not our mission, but our catchphrase is to empower and equip churches and leaders to create lasting and transformational health. And so you see there our website on the slide. You see our email. We'd encourage you to reach out to us. We hope that these have been meaningful for you. We thank you for taking the time to invest in the health of your church, and pray and hope that you can be the healthiest church that you can be, so that you can make disciples and make an impact for the kingdom.